Dear Los Angeles Rams fans, stop whatever you're doing right now. I don't know if you've seen it, but things are heating up behind the scenes with the Rams. The radar is on, and man, a positive bombshell could drop at any moment. You've probably been following the excitement building around the names Aaron Donald and Myles Garrett. And man, when it comes to reinforcements, the fans still want more. I was reading some comments, and I saw people talking about Jim Schwartz, Diggs, and Snead. That would be incredible. Well, I have some important things to share with you today, and man, all this excitement is giving me a good feeling, a sense that the Rams really could make it to the Super Bowl. Before I tell you all the details, make sure you've already hit the like button, but only do it if you've been a Rams fan for more than 15 years. Man, it's so great to see multiple generations interacting. If possible, tell us how many years your heart has been beating blue and white. All right, everyone, have a seat, because here comes the news. According to information reported by several news outlets, after the Myles Garrett trade, Pat McAfee reached out to Aaron Donald to ask whether a comeback would be possible. Donald's response was the statement that immediately caught the attention of Rams fans. It definitely made me think. He also added that he needs to see whether that spark can be reignited. They may not sound like a guarantee. They may not even sound like a decision. But they are significant because they represent something that many people were not expecting to hear directly from Aaron Donald. Instead of shutting the door on the idea, the comments presented in the report suggest that the possibility is at least being considered. That alone is enough to transform the discussion from pure speculation into a topic that deserves serious attention. The report emphasizes that this is not simply another rumor circulating among fans. The discussion highlights that there have already been multiple reports pointing in a similar direction. But what changed everything was hearing comments reportedly coming from Donald himself. The reaction throughout the report reflects just how important that distinction is. For many Rams fans, hearing that Aaron Donald is even thinking about a return creates a completely different level of excitement than hearing speculation from outside observers. As the discussion continued, the possibility of what a future Rams defensive front could look like became one of the biggest talking points. The report paints a picture of how impactful Donald's presence could be if he ultimately decided to return. The excitement comes not only from Donald's reputation, but also from the context surrounding the roster discussions featured throughout the report. The suggestion that such a scenario could become reality is what has many fans imagining possibilities that seemed impossible not long ago. What makes this story even more interesting is that the conversation is not being driven by a single source. The report references information from Rams content creator Pierce Duna, also known as First and Tuna. According to the discussion, after questions emerged regarding the situation, clarification was sought directly from him. The explanation that followed was very specific. He stated that he had not been given percentages regarding the likelihood of a decision. However, he indicated that he was told Aaron Donald is considering returning and that family is at the center of the decision-making process. That detail matters because it shifts the focus away from financial questions and toward personal considerations. In the report, the idea is presented that the decision is not simply about football logistics. Instead, family is described as a central factor in how Donald is approaching the situation. While that does not tell fans what the final answer will be, it provides insight into how the process is unfolding according to the information being discussed. The story becomes even more compelling when another voice enters the conversation. The report highlights comments from Michael Brockers, described as a former teammate of Aaron Donald, and someone close to both Donald and his family. During a discussion referenced in the report, Brockers suggested that he possessed some knowledge that others might not have. He then offered a statement that immediately attracted attention. According to the report, Brockers indicated that his guy is staying ready, so he does not have to get ready. That statement quickly became one of the most discussed parts of the report because of what it could imply. Again, it is not presented as an official announcement. It is not presented as confirmation. However, Within the context of the discussion, it adds another piece to a growing collection of comments that appear to point in the same direction. The report repeatedly emphasizes that when multiple individuals connected to the situation begin sharing similar signals, it becomes increasingly difficult to ignore. As a result, the central theme of the report is not certainty, but momentum. The feeling conveyed throughout the discussion is that more and more information is emerging that keeps the possibility alive. Every new comment seems to add another layer to the conversation. Every new detail creates additional intrigue, and every new report gives Rams fans another reason to pay close attention to what happens next. Of course, whenever a potential move involving a player of Aaron Donald's stature is discussed, one question appears immediately. Can it actually work financially? The report spends considerable time addressing that concern because many fans have understandably wondered whether a return would be realistic from a salary cap perspective. The discussion argues that the answer is yes, and it does so by examining the financial picture presented in the report. A major part of that conversation centers on Myles Garrett's contract situation. According to the report, Garrett's numbers over the first 3 years of the deal are lower than many people might expect when viewed through the lens presented in the discussion. The report outlines projected figures and uses them as evidence that the Rams still possess flexibility moving forward. The analysis then moves to projected cap space figures that are discussed extensively. According to the report, the Rams are shown as having substantial financial room in future seasons. The argument being made is straightforward. If the organization wanted to pursue Aaron Donald, there is a pathway available to do so. The report repeatedly returns to the idea that finances would not necessarily be the obstacle some fans believe them to be. Another key point raised throughout the discussion is the belief that money may not be the primary motivator in this situation. The report argues that if Aaron Donald were to return, the opportunity would be about something larger than finances. It frames the conversation around legacy, achievement, and the chance to further strengthen how his career is remembered. The discussion repeatedly suggests that factors beyond salary could play an important role in any potential decision. That perspective becomes a major theme as the report examines what a return could mean in the broader context of Donald's career. The argument presented is that accomplishments achieved after a return would carry significant weight in how future discussions unfold. Whether fans agree or disagree with that assessment, it is clear that the report views legacy as one of the most important elements involved in this story. At the same time, the report acknowledges that roster building always involves difficult decisions. Future contract extensions become part of the discussion, as attention shifts toward players who may eventually require significant financial commitments. The report notes that there are multiple players connected to those future conversations and that not every decision will be easy. One player who receives special attention during this part of the discussion is Puka Nacua. The report strongly pushes back against concerns that recent developments could somehow jeopardize his future with the organization. In fact, the discussion presents the exact opposite view. The argument made throughout the report is that the Rams remain committed to Puka and that the financial analysis supports that belief. The report goes even further by expressing confidence that Puka will remain part of the long-term plans. It emphasizes that fears linking the Myles Garrett situation to Puka's future are unwarranted. According to the discussion, the two situations should not be viewed as connected in the way some people have suggested. Instead, the report argues that there is every reason for fans to remain confident regarding Puka's place within the organization moving forward. Still, no matter how many contract discussions emerge, no matter how many roster conversations take place, the headline remains Aaron Donald. Everything ultimately circles back to those comments that started the latest wave of excitement. It for sure got me thinking. Those words continue to resonate because they represent possibility. They represent uncertainty. They represent a situation that remains unresolved but undeniably intriguing. For Rams fans, That uncertainty is what makes this story so captivating. There is no final answer yet. There is no official declaration. There is no completed transaction. What exists instead is a growing collection of comments, reports, and observations that continue to keep the conversation alive. Each piece of information adds fuel to a discussion that has become one of the most talked about topics surrounding the team. The report repeatedly highlights the idea that multiple voices are now contributing similar signals. Aaron Donald's own comments, the information shared by Pierce Duna, the remarks from Michael Brockers, the financial analysis suggesting flexibility exists. Taken individually, each element sparks interest. Taken together, they create a storyline that is difficult for Rams fans to ignore. And perhaps that is why this story continues to grow. It is not because a decision has already been made, it is because the possibility remains alive. The report's entire tone reflects the belief that something worth watching is unfolding. Whether that possibility ultimately becomes reality remains unknown, but the conversation has clearly entered a new phase. As things stand right now, the biggest takeaway is simple. Aaron Donald has reportedly acknowledged that the idea has crossed his mind. Family is reportedly central to the decision-making process. A former teammate has offered comments that many fans interpret as encouraging. Financial concerns are presented as manageable within the framework discussed in the report. And because of all of those factors, anticipation continues to build. The coming developments will be watched closely, because every new piece of information could bring additional clarity. Until then, Rams fans are left with one of the most fascinating stories surrounding the team right now. A story fueled by direct comments, insider discussions, financial analysis, and growing excitement about what could potentially happen next. What do you think about Aaron Donald's comments and the growing belief that a return is being considered? Do you think this possibility becomes reality, or do you believe it remains only speculation? Let everyone know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this update, make sure to subscribe, leave a like, and turn on notifications so you never miss the latest Rams developments. Also, click on the video on your screen right now for more coverage, because the latest Rams news and updates are the kind of stories you will find here first.